Well, the Emmy-winning Delhi crime team is with us today, and they are, of course, going to make a comeback with the second season, yet solving another tricky and a suspicious case. So let's quickly dip into the conversation with the team itself, who are joining us on Times Now. We welcome Shefali, Rajesh, and also Rasika and Tanuj. Let's quickly start with Shefali. I hope you have actually now recovered and are in good health. And congratulations for your award.
Thank you.
Melbourne, of course, you truly deserve it.
Thank you.
Once again, reprising the role of DCP. Once again, you are going to don that uniform. How excited you are?
Very, very excited. I think I manifested getting well and being here. And I mean, I couldn't imagine not being here for Delhi Crime. I can't tell you how excited I am.
So this season, how the role is going to be different. But one thing I really want to ask, like this season, was it sort of easy for you to portray the role once again, or did you have to go some extra miles to bring something new to the character for the audience?
See, honestly, you don't want to lose the grain of the show or the character. I mean, she became so loved. And a lot of it also comes from the creator and the writer. You know, I can imagine a lot, but then you have to give me material enough to explore with all of it. It's never easy for me to go in front of the camera, never. With Vartika, also the fear of, you know, DC1 happened. I did not expect her to go where she went. And I was like, how do I fit those shoes again? They become way too large for me. But there is something about, I think I'm possessed with her. Yeah. Obsessed and possessed. So when it was just like, also what is different is, you know, the first time around, the crime was very personal.
Yes.
Also, there was no wavering of the moral compass for her. It was very, very straight. Bad guys, I will get them. Over here, it's not as simple as that. There's a lot of internal dilemma. And there is a crime, there is proof which points to a certain procedural, but there is her mind and her intuition and a heart which is saying, am I being too judgmental too soon? Am I jumping the gun? And she's constantly questioning herself. I think in DC1 she became a hero. In DC2 she's human.
Yes, of course. And Tanuj, as far as the first season is concerned, as she also rightly said that Nirbhaya gang rape case was personal to each one of us in its own way. But in season 2, once again, it is, you know, you have picked up the real-time incident of the Kacha Banyan gang, which happened back in late 90s. So what made you pick this incident to go ahead with the season 2?
Well, you know, quite frankly, the crime itself was chosen by the producers and Richie before I got on board. So it was more of a question of how am I going to treat this material, this case, versus the choice of it. But, you know, in general, we like to say that in season 1, people came for the crime and then they fell in love with the characters. In season 2, I think people are going to come back for the characters and then sort of learn about how we treat the crime. Crime fiction is always and true crime and crime fiction is always a process of taking real bits of information, real bits of crime, but then turning it into something that works for your story, finding a truth in another crime and bringing it into your story. So it's, you know, and even season 1 does it a little bit too, where, you know, you have to find out what works dramatically on the screen. So it's always a question of what piece of the truth do we use, what piece of an emotional truth do we use, and what do we need to do to get our audiences to the end of the show.
But also, when we deal with such topics and we have to portray it, you know, on the screen for the audience, there is always a line which we need to maintain, that we cannot distort the facts, you know, to a limit, but we also need to keep that entertainment factor. Were there any moments wherein you faced that difficulty to portray the theme out there for the audience?
Yeah, always. You know, we always are challenging. We're always pushing. You don't always get it right. It's messy. You try something, it doesn't work. You remove it and from the take, you try something else. You know, making art, making films, it's messy, and finding the line, it's messy. Sometimes you have to cross it to know where the line is in the edit, you know, and then you pull back and you find it. So it's not so black and white, and it's okay to make kind of errors on the way, as long as by the end you've sort of ground the piece down to something that works.
Yes, of course. Let me also rope in Rajesh on this. You know, the shooting started before the pandemic. And now this season is coming. So was it difficult for you? I mean, for the entire star cast, for each one of you, to shoot this entire series? Because of course there was a time when you guys had to, you know, isolate. Each one of us had to isolate, and there was a break. So did it impact somewhere? How did that journey go?
Definitely, when we were shooting, तो बहुत सारी records का सारा ध्यान रखना पड़ता था. तो that way it was difficult for us to shoot. और उसके बाद बीच में जब एक गैप आता है तो you tend to lose the momentum. But ऐसा तो हुआ सबके साथ, तो भी luckily हम लोग फिर से अच्छे से कर पाए.
In between that gap, did you somewhere feel that, you know, had the pandemic been not there, it would have been much more easy, the journey would have been much more easy?
No, I don't think so. वो मेरे ख्याल से अगर हम एक साथ करते तो भी वैसा ही होता. बट यहाँ जैसे क्योंकि सीजन 1 से सीजन 2 में जाना भी एक अपने आप में, हम एज एन एक्टर हमेशा आपको थोड़ा डर लगा रहता है ना कि विल आई बी एबल टू कैच द ट्रूथ ऑफ द कैरेक्टर अगेन. वो वाला तो वो गैप से थोड़ा दिक्कत तो होता ही है.
Also, Rasika, now in this season, all the police officers, their personal life has been shown in a much more explicit way, I would say, and also especially you are, you know, handling both your professional life and the personal life. We saw it in the trailer also, how you're managing to reach the crime spot. So how your character is going to develop this season?
So the season is, like you said, a lot for Neeti is a lot about trying to balance her marriage and a very high demanding job. She wants to give a lot of attention to both. She's very particular about the way she does her job. She's very sincere about it. Doesn't want to have any lapses in any way. But yes, that is her struggle in this season, where she's trying to navigate both and trying to give it the attention and time that the attention and time that it needs. She's a much more lived-in cop this season. She's not as new to the job as she was in season 1. So she's not struggling so much with that. There's a confidence, there's an ease. But yes, the job is very high pressure, and sometimes it asks a lot of you. So she's navigating that.
In your previous interviews, I heard you saying during the first season that it was a kind of cathartic experience for you. So how personal, like if I say even a season 1 and now the season 2 also, how personally you have been affected with this show and, you know, being a part of this show?
You know, with any material that you engage with as a performer, the idea is that it should affect you in some way and it should move something within you. And if you're lucky with the kind of work you do, that does happen. With Delhi Crime, of course, there is a lot of, the material is always intense and it does affect you in several ways. It's not so easy to tell how exactly and how much, because that's the nature of the job. The experiences that you have during shoot are largely intangible, and they're beautiful for that reason, that you're not able to say कि इस scene से मेरे ऊपर ये effect हुआ. ऐसा नहीं है. There is something that you experience and it stays with you. So it becomes an experience in your life. So it's not easy to say how much or for how long, but definitely the attempt is always, and the hope is always, that you get affected by the material that you're working on.
Yes, I'm sure. And actors does get affected with the character they are playing. I'm sure the role of the DCP, which you are portraying in season 2 as well, how close it is to your heart, and especially the moment when you donned that uniform on the set. How does it inspire you, and how does it add to your character, and also as far as your personal experience is concerned?
Like I said earlier, I'm obsessed with Vartika. She is extremely close to me. I'm very, very possessive about her. And so is the show. So it's, I mean, I can't even begin to tell you how special and how important this is for me. As far as the uniform is concerned, I walk taller. My gait changes, the way I walk, the way I hold my head up high, and that uniform demands it. I mean, it just demands respect. You know, you walk in with a uniform, and actually people would make way to let her go. And I think it's something that just, I can't explain it. Like, I just walk stronger and taller, and my head is held high, and it's just all of it put together. I really can't explain it. It's something else. when I see that uniform.
But also I really want to know, like when you started shooting for even season 1, what kind of training you had to go through? Because this is one of the different roles which you are donning on air, and how the preparation was like. Even in the season 2, did you require some more preparations as far as your character is
You
concerned?
always need more preparation. I mean, no matter how much preparation you do, it is always less. That's what I feel. When we did season 1 and both the scripts, you know, with something like this, it requires a lot of research, and the creators, writers worked on it. So when you have a strong blueprint, it's easier to navigate. I did meet Chaya ma'am when we did season 1, and of course there were other cops, and you know, we were explained how to basic protocols, whether it's standing or it's the way you salute or the way you wear your uniform, and these are very important things. They're very, very important things for the force. So all that had to be kept in mind. Of course, the emotional strength and the emotional trauma that everyone was going through, that I think all of us went through
Yes.
when that case happened.
Yes.
That intact. At the same time, the second one, like I said, is more introspective. Also, the first one was driven by the heart. The second one, when you start the episode, you realize that this is something she does on a day-to-day basis. It
Yes.
affects her, but still she can keep away from it without letting it break her. Because if it did break her, she wouldn't be able to do her job. So it's like, okay, this has happened, it's affecting me, but I've got to put my emotional side aside and I have to solve this. You know, so there's a lot of growth I see. And when I say growth, you know, there is a plant that grows, a tree that grows straight up, and there's a tree that broadens up. And I think it's one of those.
Yes, and I also observed that each of the characters this season are evolving and developing in their own way. Also, how your journey has been, like from the season 1, as she also rightly said, that it was close to our hearts. Each one of us could relate to that incident in some way. And in season 2 also we have picked one of the incidents. So how your journey has been as far as the shooting for this entire series is concerned?
Season 1 was really difficult for all of us in the sense that we were all enraged by that incident. और उस दौरान मैं भी मतलब राजेंद्र सिंह जी जो ACP थे उस दौरान उनसे मिला था just to get an idea about how the police works and how he was part of the team. अब season 2 में it's not totally realistic in the sense कि treatment wise it's realistic, but like घटना पूरी की पूरी realistic नहीं है ना, कि there are some fictional part also. So that way इसमें references उतने की जो तैयारी करनी पड़ी थी फर्स्ट सीजन में, उतनी की references की तैयारी की ज़रूरत नहीं थी, but definitely क्योंकि characters की अपनी personal life है, उसके बारे में जो बदलाव हो रहे हैं उनके बारे में और बाकी चीज़ों में.
Ji. And also, Tanuj, when we speak of season 1, like there was this common notion, I would say, like the reaction which came in, like since it was an emotional connect, so many people were like, you know, that we cannot watch it. It's like, you know, it is not easy for us to actually watch something like that on the screen. And now in this season, like I had a word with one of my colleagues regarding this incident which happened back in 90s, and she said that, you know, I remember my parents were also worried about my grandparents when this entire thing happened. My mom once told me. So this time, what exactly you had in the mind that, you know, that you need to make the audience comfortable also? And what is it, that basic idea which strikes you while shooting a content like this?
That's a very good question, and because a lot of people struggle with season 1. It's a difficult watch, and it should be a difficult watch. You know, the nature of the case. In some ways, it's very liberating not to have that weight, and I can make a story that can bring in those people that couldn't watch 1 and bring them into 2, or bring in a larger audience that maybe didn't hear about 1, or just the topic is too much. You know, so that's a wonderful. It's a liberating feeling, and it's liberating for the show. It allows us to grow the show. You know, we did 1. We can't stay in that space forever. And yet we need to channel a fear in season 2 that was a memory of a fear from a different time, which still makes people like if you've heard of the gang, if you've heard of what happened in the 90s, if you were around then, it can send a chill up your spine. So it's the urban legend of this case that is providing the fear versus a recent cultural memory of the horrible situation.
Right, it actually was. I remember I was watching season 1 and there were times when I had to actually pause and, you know, absorb the content in and then move forward. There were times when I was myself furious. So as you said, it's all about the emotional connect. But also, Rasika, this entire journey when we speak about the season 1, I mean, you were actually, you said that, you know, you needed to do that show in order to come in terms with actually what happened back that year. This season, was it easy for you as well, or was it difficult for you to, you know, come one step forward and portray the role this time?
I mean, every season has its own challenges. This time, I think it was more about, because the crime was not so familiar to me, it was more about what I find interesting about the material that I was given for season 2 was that it really sort of tries to examine what disparity and class divide does to a society, and how that's so starkly visible in a city like Delhi. You know, and that I think is moving. That's what we see every day in our lives, and to sort of understand that contributes to crime is something which is frightening.